Hi Rudy, welcome back. In this video, we are going to learn about CPI. From A to Z, we will cover in this video. Alright, so most probably I'll just show you the content. What we are trying to cover in this video is we'll cover like iterating splitter, general splitter loop, how we handle exceptions in HTTP or any normal scenario, right? And how we fix that. And if there is exception in iteration, how to handle that. I mean, some useful properties whenever you want to share data between, like one sub process to another sub process, how to use gather, how to use join and gather. I mean, like stuff like when to use what, stuff like that. All right, and I will share the some of the tools also which will be very useful with respect to CPI development. All right, so as you can see, I have already created a sample. I mean, it's just a blank iFlow. You can see there is nothing. We will do everything from scratch. All right, so first let's set up. I think I have already shared some of the videos where I covered like header and message mapping. Those things I will not be covering in this video. So let's start with this. So maybe I'll just say first we can take we'll some data. So most probably I'll not send from Postman, or maybe I can send something like, let's say, this data, or I can put some data directly. So for example, in this I already created some data. So let me put that. So you can see it's just a simple data which is in JSON format, and CPI works. Everything in CPI is in XML, but most probably in a real scenarios you will get input in JSON, and most probably you'll give the output also in JSON format, and internally you will do everything in XML. All right, so that is why I'm keeping everything right now in JSON as an input to the our iFlow. Okay, so as you can see, it's a simple ID and it's like a employee, or sorry, a student kind of data. You can see ID, branch, mobile number, and stuff like that. All right, so let's go back and to our iFlow and start how we can get the data from Postman to this. Okay, so before we do that, I just want to share that how you, let's say if you are having a trial account, if you have an actual account, that's perfectly fine. Or I mean, like in the system key is same, so actually you want to send data from Postman to CPI or anywhere other system to CPI, there are ways to connect it, right? So right now I connected with the user and password, basic authentication. So for that I need a client ID and client secret. So how you will get, I'm just covering that part also in this video. So for example, I created a trial account, so I'll just go to my trial account using this link, let it load. So you can see it is my account, and I'll click on this environment. It's taking some time. Okay, so as you can see, it's showing one subscription instance and environment. Okay, so most probably what we will be doing when you will create for the first time, nothing will be there. So we need to click on this create button, and you need to do certain stuffs. So for example, you click on this drop down and you need to select this integration suite, and to create the key you need to select this this process integration runtime. Sometime it may or may not be available in this drop down. So what you need to do, you need to go here. There is something called entitlements, so you click on it, let it load. So let me refresh. All right, so as you can see, certain steps are already there. In your case, if integration is not there, I need to say, let's say integration suite is there, right? If it's not there, what you need to do, you need to click on this edit button and then add service plan, and inside that you need to select those services which are not available. Sometimes it's not available, sometimes it's available, just stuff like that. So actually what happened when I created the trial account, it was not available. All right, so as you can see, let me search here also so you can see integration suite is there, which is already checked, and the integration runtime, which is also checked. You make sure you check this one, and once that is there, then you can go back to instance and subscription, and then you need to click on this one and select. Since I already have it, so it will not allow me to add again. Discard. And then what you need to do, you come here and then same thing again, select this integration flow, and that is where you need to click this and create your service key. Let it load. So I have already created. You simply say create, and you simply say whatever the service name and click next. You will get the client ID and client center. That's it. Alright, so that's all about how you will create the client ID and client center, so that you can put that in your Postman or any other system from where you will be actually calling the CPI. Alright, so let's go back to the CPI now. Okay, so what we will be doing now, let's create a connection so that from sender to the start, so that we start receiving the data from the Postman. So I clicked on edit. Now let's connect it. So now it will give you a pop-up. There you need to see what kind of connection you want. So since it's a HTTP in our case, so let's select that. And now the most important part is this. You need to click on this connection and check this one, since it's in a local environment, and this is the place where you need to give the address. So maybe I'll give the same address what I already have. Let's say this is the instance, my trial instance URL, and this I'll tell you how you are going to get it. You just focus on this one, the what is there after HTTP. I'll tell you how you will get the entire URL. So you click on input and say input here. That's it. And then let's deploy. Save and deploy. Okay, now you can see it's deployed. Let me okay, I'll open this time. I'm using the CPI instance to show you whether it's deployed or not. Then I will talk about this plugin which will help you in debugging and all kind of trace activities. So let's do this manually this time. You need to go to monitor, and you can see it's deployed. Okay, now let's refresh. Normally it won't take much time, but yeah, sometimes it takes looks like it's taking time. But the URL which I'm talking about, this one, actually it will come over here, but it's started. I'll show you. If I try to send this data right now, you can see I got the same result back, because if you see my browser, I'm getting data and directly sending to this end. Okay, this we are not using. I may delete this also, it's of no use. Okay, so data we are receiving and we are transferring directly to end. If you really want to see, I can just enable trace here. I'll show you the plugin as well, but just since there is nothing, so it's of no use of using the plugin. That's why. So I enable the trace. Let me trigger this again. That's done. Minimize. Click on monitor messaging. You see this I executed before. That is why it must be in. This one is going to be in info mode, and then I enable the trace. That is why it's enabled. Okay, so now you can see the data. Actually, this is nothing but debugging in CPI. So you can see we receive the message, and the same message is sent back to the end. The whoever is the like Postman. So Postman is going to receive that message. You want to see the message? You can see here. Maybe here. So you can see the same student kind of data is there, where you have ID and branch and stuff like that. All right, so now let's so since I already said I will be covering these examples, so what I am thinking, I will select, let's say I will be explaining you how you will iterate to this JSON, right? Then I will check this route. So this is header. I created a property called route name, and then I'm that value I'm setting, so that we will have multiple examples in same iFlow instead of creating multiple iFlows. All right, so let's go back to the iFlow again. Now what I'll do, let's create let's try to convert this JSON into XML. All right, then only we can do anything in CPI. Okay, so let's find that XML JSON to XML converter. So I drag it here. Okay, and then go to processing and check this one is of no use, and we want to say okay, the root node, since we don't have anything here, right? Your data starts with its array, so that is why you need to, otherwise you can check this and add XML, I mean add XML root node. I am saying yes, I want it, and the name should be root. You can give any name, whatever you want to. Now let's do this. Save. We'll do everything step by step. Okay, so let's deploy it again. Most where this URL might have come back, and now I mean it should be visible. Normally endpoint, let me get fresh. Okay, still didn't come, but it will come, don't worry, I will show you once it's available. All right, okay, so now this is done, and I believe it's deployed as well. You can check the time, it's deployed. Okay, now let's go back to the Postman and send. Let's see what will happen. Okay, so now we got an error. Why? Because now it doesn't know how to create or how to convert this XML to, I mean this JSON to XML, because our data is like this. Where is the body? You see, our data is not like curly braces starting with the square bracket, because it's an array, so it doesn't understand whether it's a really an array or a JSON, I mean array, I mean JSON kind of thing. All right, so what we need to do, we need to do a little tweak. So we need to add a content modifier, and when we need to wrap around the curly braces. So what we can do, we can add a content modifier just before this block, and there is a tool. You click on this, since now it's not looking good, so you click on the title, I mean the border of the top border, and if you want vertically aligned, then you click on this one, like it will be like, it will become vertical, but we don't want that, we want horizontally. So now it's aligned properly, so make sure you click on it whenever it get missed. All right, so now this content is there. What we want, this entire JSON, which is in a square bracket, should be wrapped around curly braces. What we can do, go to message body and change this to expression, because we want to act on it, right? So what we are trying to say, at a curly braces, whatever array is there, assign it to row. So there is a property, so for example, whenever you want to access a previous message, for example, whatever is message just before this block, that message you can access using this like $in.body. Wherever you want message, you use this kind of syntax, say $in.body. That way you will be able to get the entire message, which is input to that particular block. All right, so we will use that, and what we are trying to say, we will we will assign the entire JSON array to this row, so that then it will be easily convertible into XML. I will show you in just a bit. So let's deploy, I mean save and deploy. Now you can see it's deployed. Let's go back to the Postman and hit again. Now you see it's converted into proper XML. Let me show you in editor. Okay, so you can see we said in the JSON block that we want a root node to be named as root, and then after that we manually added a row in a content modifier. Maybe I'll show you how it's gonna be look like. Now this is the time I'll show you our plugin. So for example, if I want to show you in a debug mode, normally I go back here and enable trace and stuff like that. Okay, so there is a better way of doing the tracing, I mean debugging. What you can do, you can download a plugin called CPI Helper. This is the plugin which I was talking about. So no need to go back to the, or switching back to the previous, the new tab, and connect and click on your iFlow which is deployed, and then change the drop down to trace, and the trace is only valid for 10 minutes. So much manual activity that can be avoided if you install this plugin. So okay, so this plugin you can download from Chrome extension, and the plugin name is CPI Helper. Once you install it, it will come here, and you will have some extra menus over here. So for example, now I deployed it just now. I want to enable a trace, so click on a trace. So you see trace is activated, and these are previous message. Now let me go back to the Postman. I send the message here, it will refresh, and you see new entry came. This means inline debugging, see, and this means it will go to trace. See, I need not to switch automatically, manually. It directly goes, it does everything automatically, and it will give you a trace window. I'll show you. Let it load. You can see. Let it load. Okay, so you see everything is there. Last time I enabled the trace, and then I came back like that. Okay, so now let me show you all the messages, how it's gonna be after content modifier. So since it's a trial account, that is why it's a little slow. Okay, so I want to see how it's gonna look like after the content modifier. So I click on the next block, and this is the JSON. Let's go back to the editor. Now you see, this was the input from the Postman. We assigned this to a variable, like a row, and then wrapped around the curly braces. That is what we did in the content modifier, and same is reflecting over here. And after that, it's simple. This block just converted into XML. All right, same thing you can do with this using this tool icon. Click on it. That is to show which are blocks. So blocks which are shown in green color, that means message passed successfully. If it is in red color, that means there is an error on that, so it will show in that kind of way. So if you double click on this one, it will show that what is the input to that particular block. So for example, body, if you see, it's showing the same thing here. And you can click on this copy button or manually copy. You can do this stuff like that. You can download this body, everything you can do it from here itself. You want to see any header as an input to this block, you can see here. Whatever properties available, you can see here. So it's very useful tool. So throughout this video, I'll be using this plugin extensively. Alright, so now we got the data. Now next thing is, what we will do here is we'll add some route node here, so that we can play with the multiple examples which I talked about here. So first thing, I will be showing you how we will iterate one by one to this entire XML now. Alright, so for this, what we can do, I'll create a route. I'll drag that route element here. Okay, so this is my route, and in one of my previous video, I showed you how you can access a header property, input header, and that you can use wherever you want to use. So I want to use that header information in the route, and the route will go to that particular blocks whichever I'm interested. So for example, I'm interested in the iterating splitter route. So what I will do, I will go to that particular block using this route condition. So what I'll do in this case, I will add a condition to this route, and then only it will go to that particular thing. So I will say something like in this route condition, I didn't add it, let me add some blocks, so then it will be useful. It will be easy to understand what I'm talking about. So let me add 2 blocks so that you have at least 2 branches for that particular route. Let's make independent and let's give this a default. So if I don't pass anything, it will go here and it will print the same whatever is the input. Okay, now we are saying we want to play with the iteration. So what we can do, that is where we can write the condition. So let's first go back and select, since I have selected this route, I am going to make it as a default. Okay, so I will say default routes. If you don't pass any condition, I mean if the value is not satisfied, it will come to this one. Now let's go back to this one, and this is where I will say XML. If you want to play with the XML condition, you can use that one. Right now I'm using a header property. So to access any header property, you have to say dollar curly braces header dot and the property name. So if I go back to the Postman, you see my header property name is route name. I will go back. So header dot route name is equal to iterating splitter. Same thing I have passed here. Route name, I will check this checkbox. If I check now and execute, it will do nothing because it's just printing the same thing, and still there is no condition because I didn't deploy also. So iterating splitter as a header value I'm passing. So if I minimize and go back here and then say if the value of header route node is equal to, then go to this block. Okay, let me put the same name here, I mean like this. Okay, so now let me create a local sub process, I mean like individual, so that each example will have its own sub process and it will be easy to understand. Otherwise it will be very difficult to if we do all the operation in one block itself. Okay, so let's create a local sub process, and let's give this also a pretty much same name. So here I will say iterating splitter process. All right, and instead of content modifier, maybe I will use process call so that I can call the local sub process. I'll drag it here, and this I don't need right now. I will delete it and give this the same name. Here you just select the process which you just now created. Alright, now let's use the same to fix it. So now it's properly aligned it. Okay, now in this what I want to show how we will iterate to that particular XML one by one. Iterating means iterate to the, just like a loop in any programming language. Alright, so for that what we will do, we will make use of iterating splitter. So you click on the search bar here and search iterating splitter. So as you can see, same is available here. Click on it and drag it over here in the plus line. Okay, so now important part is to understand its parameters. So you click on this block, then you will expand this panel, come here, select. So your input is of what type? My input is of XML type, so I will say XPath. Now how many groups or how many elements I want to iterate in one shot, so I will say one by one for now, and then I need to pass the path of that, like at what node or I should iterate. So for example, if I go back to this XML which I shown here, so my root, and then I have rows. So actually this is a I can iterate to like row 1, row 2, like that. Okay, so root slash row, so that is what is my path. So I will say slash root slash row. All right, now I'll show you some couple of entries over here. So this parallel processing means you want to iterate parallelly. Stop, actually this is very important one. So for example, you are iterating and you are doing some kind of other kind of processes or any kind of calculation or sending data or receiving data, stuff like that you are doing after this. If at any point of time if there is an error, what do you want to do? You want to stop the iFlow execution completely, or you want to stop only for that iteration and continue with the next iteration? So for example, if you are having in a loop and you are iterating one by one, what you want to do if there is an error in at particular time? So for example, if I expand again, you say stop on execution, means if you check this checkbox, means if there is an error, stop the iFlow at that time, no need to process further. But if you uncheck this one, I will show you in further how you will act on it. I mean, what is the difference between this? So but right now you just try to understand. If I uncheck this one and during like iterating or whatever I am doing after this when I'm receiving any single item from here, if there is error, it will not stop the iFlow. It will just, it will stop only for that particular iteration. Then it will continue with the iteration number 2. For example, you are iterating from 0 to 10 and there is an error at 2, index 2, then it will stop only for 2. Then it will start iterating for index 3. Stuff like that. Okay. I will show you how that error and how it will create a problem. Okay, so that time it will makes more sense of the meaning of this particular checkbox. Alright, let me add a content modifier so that you can see how it's iterating. And right now iterating group is at 1. Let's go back here and you see it's 1. That means it will iterate 1 by 1. Okay, so let me add a content modifier. Alright, and let's deploy this one. Okay, so looks like there's an error. Let's see what is that. So if you read this error, what it's saying, it doesn't have any children in this local subprocess. So the catch is it's there, iteration is there. After this, if the content modifier is empty means there's no property created, nothing is there, then it treats this content modifier as empty. Maybe you can put something. For now, I'll say let's you can put anything, but I want to say like $in.body, so that it will, whatever is receiving, it will just have that kind of data. Alright, so that it will not read this block as a empty block. So now let's save this one and deploy. This time it will allow. Let's see. So you can see it's deployed this time. Alright, so now let me send the same data using this iterating router. Okay, so we got this input. I will show you why. Let's go back and click on this end line. I think it's still message didn't receive over here. Let me send it again. Yeah, it's there. Okay. Let me see. Sometimes it doesn't show color on this blocks. Let's see what is the catch. If it's available here, then there is no issue. Let's see whether header is available at this moment or not. Ah, I got it. So see the header, it's not available. So the problem is, whenever you want to access input headers, input means the header which are coming from, as an input, right, to the CPI iFlow, you need to click on this empty space and make sure you expand this one and you say runtime configuration allow headers. Okay, so here the option is you put star, means you will allow all the headers, or if you want to allow only specific, then you can put those names and separate it by pipe if you have multiple headers. So in my case, I have only one, so I'm not writing the name, I'm just saying star, allow all headers. Now let me save and deploy again. Let's see whether it's deployed or not. So as you can see, it's deployed this time. Let me go back to the Postman here and hit send button. Let's go back here, enable, let's wait for the message. It came here this time, and you see this time message came to the because we received the header. Maybe I'll show you the header here itself, and our header is available here, route name iterating splitter. Alright, one more catch here. The header name should not have a space. I mean, sorry, not the name, actually value. Otherwise, it won't work in the route condition. Not sure why, but that is what was happening with me. So when I added iterating space splitter, it was not checking the chat. Let me know if you know the solution. I mean, know the reason of that. For me, it didn't work. So that is why there is no space in the value. Alright, so let's go back here. Now what I was trying to show you how it's splitting. So we are interested over here. So when you have multiple data coming here, so it will show here, and sometimes if the data is more than 10, it won't show in this block. Then you need to go into this kind of windows using this button. Maybe I'll show you right now this one. Since we have 3 and 6 messages, so you click on each and you will see. So this is the first, you see row, it is splitted. This is just a documentation. You see row id 1, then this is the data. If I click on 2, then body, like that. We are saying iterate one by one, so that is why it is iterating one by one. Let me close this window. If you want, if the data is more, this inline is not working because it won't show more than 10 in one shot, right? It will not, when you double click on this block, it will not come. So in that case, what you can do, you can click trace mode, and here you can see all the messages. Okay, let me close this for now. Okay, so one more thing I will show is, since I added 1, that is why it is splitting one by one. Let me make it 2 for this time. Save and deploy. It's deployed. Let's go back to the Postman and send. I will show you why it's like that. Okay, so let's minimize this. Double click on this one. Earlier we were having 6 messages. This time we have 2 because each is having 2 rows. Alright, so let's click on the body, and you see this is the first row, and from here it started the second row. ID is equal to 2. Alright, so that's how you do iterating splitter. Alright, so now next is GeneralSplitter. I mean, what is the difference? Maybe I'll show you one more thing here. If you come here, you see when I double click on it, focus on the output, you see it starts from row. It doesn't have the root node. It's just giving the child element. Okay, so that is the basic difference between iterating and the GeneralSplitter. Alright, so let me go back here and add a GeneralSplitter. So for that also we can do pretty much same. We can create a new route, and then we will just add a new condition for GeneralSplitter. So that way we will have a different local sub process. Alright, so maybe what I'll do, I'll create a new route here. Let me drag a process call first. So I dragged it here. I'll give this name as GeneralSplitter, and let me add a process, local integration process. Let me drag this somewhere, maybe here, and I'll give the same name. Okay, so the catch is we need to add those conditions. So I'll just say and message. This block I want to connect to add, and this route I want to connect to this GeneralSplitter, and I want to add a condition to this as I have added for the iterating splitter. So let me click on this route, processing, non-XML, header route name GeneralSplitter, and same we are passing for the Postman. Let me check this one. Check this. Okay, let's align this Okay, so and from here you can select the GeneralSplitter. So you click here. It's pretty much same. Everything in configuration, in terms of configuration, everything is just same. What is the only difference I told you? That like GeneralSplitter will have the root node as well. So I'll say xpath and there you type exactly same. Here also I'll say 1 for now. You can do pretty much same. This I will explain later once we cover the exception parts. So let's uncheck for this now. Okay, and similarly let me drag a content modifier so that it won't say it's an empty or block. And in this also I will add same in dot body. Save and deploy. Okay, let's see what is the error. Okay, so we created a local subprocess but we didn't assign it. Okay, so it's deployed. Go back here. I already this, everything is just same. Click on send. I believe trace is enabled. Yeah, it's still I am not enabling again and again. But in case of manual, you need to enable every 10 after 10 minutes. Okay, so that is the useful. I mean that is the best thing about this. CPI Helper extension, Chrome extension. All right, so now we have already sent a message. Looks like it might have come. Okay, so you can see it already came here. Double click on this content modifier so we can see how it's splitting. All right, so since we have 6 nodes, that's why sync, and we are splitting by 1. Let's go back to body and observe the difference. So it has a root as well. That is the basic difference between iterating splitter and the general splitter. Everything is just same. If I make it 2, it will have 2 items, 2 childs inside a root, not 2 roots. All right, so that's pretty much about the general splitter. Next is the loop. All right, so let's see how we will create. Similarly, just like that, we will create a new route, local subprocess, and stuff like that we will do for loop, so that you can process how you want to process your message in loop. Sometimes you want to call APIs in pagination, right? So that is where we make use of these loops. All right, so let's create a new route and we will have everything just same the way we did for this one. So for that you need to search loop. So we are interested in looping process. So this we can drag it here. It did it or not? It didn't drag, sorry. Okay, actually I was dragging at the wrong place. Okay, so this is the block which takes care, or actually is what it does. It calls that local subprocess multiple times. In the behind the scene, it's just like a do while loop. So in your normal programming, you have a do while loop, right? How it works, whatever is the condition, it will run at least once. That's how it is the looping process in CPI. All right, so what we'll do, we will create a new route. Let's give this some condition. How I have given for others, I will say header route name is loop. Alright, I think we are sending same pretty much, yeah, loop. Okay, let's end this also. End message. Let's clean this. Okay, so it came. Now again, similar like other blocks, we need to create a local integration process. So I'll drag it down here. Let's give this a name like loop process block. Okay, now let's select this also. So we click on loop process, it's selected, and this is the important part of this block. So what you will be doing actually, you create loop I would say even like how you will create the variables and all stuff like that you will be doing here. I mean how you want to process your loop. So that is what we need to write down everything. I mean all this. For example, loop condition. So do while loop, me as I already told you, it will run no matter whatever is the condition. It will run at least once, and after that whether it should run or not, it depends on your I mean like your conditions, or whether it's correct or not, like that. So maybe since we are going to have, we need to create those variables, it's better we can create a different local sub process instead of doing over here. So maybe what I can do, I can add one more process block which will do that kind of operation, like having variables, and those variables will feed inside this block. And so instead of feeding over here, so maybe let me create a one more process call. You will get what I'm trying to say just in a bit. Process call, I'll drag it over here. Let's clean this, and this I will rename it to, I will say loop example. That's it. Okay, now what I want, or what I'm trying to say is, let's delete this one, we don't need it here right now, and create one more process, or maybe we can make use of this one. For now we will create one more local process for that one. Loop process. Okay, let's select this one here. This is a normal process call, okay, not the looping one actually. That thing we will do inside this process call. Okay, let's clean this. So it is clean. Let's check the condition. Everything is just right. Alright, so let's add that looping process actually over here, so that we can play with the variables for that particular loop. Alright, so search again, loop process call. I'll drag it here, and we need to do certain activities before this loop so that we can feed all those data over here. So that is why I created a separate process block for that particular thing. Okay, so what you will do, you add a content modifier, because everything we want to manipulate, it can be done only in content modifier. Alright, so let's add a content modifier. We can name it like a preparation or prepare loop, something like that. Loop. Alright, so in that what we will do, we will create a one condition, like the property which we want to use in the looping process. So I will say message property, add here. I will say continue loop, and I will say till the time the variable is true, loop should continue. Okay, let's copy this one, and we will be using inside this process block. Processing, and you can make it like non-XML because it's a property. So we will say again $property, just like header. If you want to access any of the property, I will come to those things again in just a bit, what all useful properties or headers you should be you should be knowing when you work with the CPI. So right now we just added property dot continue loop is equal to true. So that means loop should continue to run till the value is true. All right, what is max? What if like it becomes like infinite? If we are not able to set this, or because of any error, we should be having a stop condition. So that is why we are saying, let's not run it more than 9 iteration. If it's going beyond 9, we want to throw an exception. There are two options. So for example, let's say our loop is running more than 9 times. The moment it reaches to the 10th one, what do you want to do? You want to throw an exception, or you just want to do end the loop and don't want to throw an exception. It depends on what your logic or whatever you are trying to do it. So I am saying throw exception if it's going beyond the 9 iteration. Okay, now let's now what it will do, till the time this condition is true, it will call a particular process, local sub process, that many times. So that we have to attach over here, just like a process block which I used for these examples. Right, process block you can consider like a sub method in that particular class. In any programming language you have many methods, right? And you can call those methods stuff like that. So these sub process you can call it like a methods, and that method it will call that many times till the condition is true. And these are, you can say, method callers, these process blocks, these process call. Inside you are assigning nothing but a method name, something like that. In terms CPI it calls local integration process. All right. So for this loop also we need to create another some method, nothing but local process. Let's create that also. Local integration process. So let's create here. Here I will, let's say, loop work process. Whatever loop is doing, that kind of process it is. All right. So now let's click on this process, looping process, and select that. This is the working loop. Okay. Now what will happen? 9 times, at least 9 times, if the condition is true, it will call this local work process. Let me make it loop actually, so that we will know what it will. Okay. All right, so let me add some stuff. We need to add some conditions also, like when to stop, otherwise it will become infinite, right? And as I already told you, so after, if we try to go beyond 9, it will throw exception, at least in our case. So to make that not happen, we need to make that condition, which is nothing but this. Just like we did preparation for the loop, we need to make, set the value continue loop to false. One more catch I missed to share is, I will cover again, but yeah, I'm just telling you, whenever you want to transfer data, or whenever you want to use any particular variables, properties within the or multiple processes, you should make sure you create a property in exchange property, and the type should be constant, and set the value, because these are like a static variables, static data, which you want to use it as it is. All right, you can change these data. Okay, by the way. Okay, so let me add a content modifier so that you will know what I'm trying to do in this one. Or maybe I will say whether I can create a loop, means like it should do something, right? Like it should do. So maybe I can introduce you to do scripts, so that using that script, what we will do, we will generate some numbers, and that number, if the number is, let's say, any particular number, then it will stop the loop. That is, just an example I'm trying to, like show you. Otherwise we need to have actual data when you want to iterate, or you want to call any API, stuff like that, right? In a pagination, if that API is supporting pagination. Okay, so maybe just to make to understand how to how to use the loop, what I'll do, I'll make use of scripts. So in CPI we have scripts like JavaScripts and Groovy Script. Most probably, most of the time we use Groovy Script. So let's drag that now, and let me give this a name like generate random number, something like that. All right. Okay, so to create a script, you click on this plus button. If you already have created, by default it gives this like a sample script. Okay, so what in a, let's say if you already have some script, what you can do, I will show you. Maybe I'll say cancel. Let's say save, yeah. And you see it didn't listen because I said cancel. Let's say you already have some script created outside, you can click on select and upload from your local system. Okay, so let me create right now. I'll click on plus button again. I'll replace, and this is the script which I am talking about. What this script will do, let's not get into how I created, like, because it just, you can use ChatGPT and tell like I create a Groovy script which will generate random numbers, stuff like that. So it's not a big deal to create those scripts. Okay, but it's just you make sure you know at least one programming language, then it's pretty much easy. All right, so what I'm trying to say, generate random number, and out of 9, something like, okay, and then whatever number is generating, I'm setting to that body. So what will happen, I'll say apply, saved, close. So this number, this block actually will generate a number and give it to me as a message. So nothing but output of that block is nothing but a generated number, something like that. Okay, so after that I can do like let's say if you're using a pagination, you can use that. In my case, I can do, let's say, take these numbers as like a ID, or maybe I can introduce this time like you can how to call an API. Let's say you can use a request apply. I created dummy APIs for this demo, so maybe I'll show request apply, and that block will help you to call any API. Okay, so I am using mock APIs, and I will show you how to call that particular API. In your case, you will be having actual API, and that URL, if you put it, you will be getting that. Only catch is whenever you add a receiver, sorry, request apply, make sure it's connected to receiver. So select receiver, and the basically use of this receiver I'll show you. Maybe let's click on the HTTP. So for example, you want to set some username password or some kind of configuration like endpoints. So this will be showing in the configure button. I will show you. Maybe I'll save as a person and I will show you what I'm talking about. Okay, so I connected, and it's a HTTP type. That is why if you click on this line, you get this kind of panel. Maybe I'll go back here. See, I clicked on now outside. I clicked on this block. So local integration. I'm just trying to make a difference. I mean, that's why I'm clicking somewhere else, or you can click whenever you want to. But only thing, you just click on this line. See, it's changing to HTTP, and then you go back to connection, and that is where you will put the, what I'm trying to say is the URL. Okay, so my MOOC API URL is like this. Here it's a get type. I will set it to get. It is of no, it's a plain API, so that is why I'm setting to none. Otherwise, most probably you will be setting to user and password, and that you will be taking from the configuration, and that is where this receiver comes into the picture. So in your configuration page, it will show you that receiver, whatever you want to name it, and that there you can use user and password. Those password will be filled with this particular line as nothing but HTTP call. Alright, so if you go back to the script again, in my script, what I am doing, one more thing, I am setting the same random number to a property also, and the property name is random number. I'm setting to the body also. The only catch is I don't want to create one more content block, and there I have to set this. So that is why I'm setting the property inside the script itself. Okay, otherwise you can do outside also. So in nutshell, the property name I'm using here in this connection, and I'm saying random number. So whenever I already told you how to access a property, you say dollar property dot that property name. How you access header? Simple. Dollar header dot header, stuff like that. Okay, so you can see now it will, whatever number is getting generated, it will display over here. I mean, it will bind over here, and then this is my fake API, and then it will give you some data where if there is a data. All right, so far this much is done, but we are not stopping the loop. We didn't write that condition. So maybe what we can do something like we can add a route here. Let me add a route here. I think I didn't add it correctly. Expand a little bit. Now you can use this button to align this properly. Okay, so in this route, what we will say, if the condition, let's say, I mean, if the random number is generated to, let's say, 4, then stop the loop. We said it can generate, this block can generate any number out of 9. If the number is 9, I mean, generated number is 9, then, and we are returning that message as a message also, the same message will pass till here. Okay, and we are saving that number also in the property. So in the router, we you have already seen just now, we are using header dot whatever it is. Similarly, I can use the same, what I bind it to this URL. I will say property dot random number. Okay, so let me add this condition. Assume this is the block, I will attach them, but this is the route, first branch, I would say. So I'll go to processing. I'll say non-XML because it's a property. I will say property dot random number is equal to 4. Then go here. Then what it should do? It should stop the loop. How to stop the loop? We have already created a property here, right? Here we are saying continue loop is equals to true. Just like that, what we can do, we can create a similar block and say false. Simple thing. One more thing I will show you how to do. You can simply create a content modifier and add set a property. Otherwise you can use copy. I'm just trying to show you a feature. If you want to copy this block, let's say copy, click outside, click again, paste. See, it's copied. Now if you want to drag it here, it should be allowing you to drag. See, it's allowed. But we don't need this block. This is of no use for us. You want to copy this one so that we do not to create property name again. Otherwise we need to manually set it. I will show you both. Click on copy. You can use this plus button also. Copy here, plus, paste. Okay, drag it here. Let's format it. Okay, let me rename this to stop loop. So assume I didn't copy, I just created a manually content modifier. I just want to show the copy feature, that is why I did this way. And if you manually create it, you need to exchange property, do everything just the way we created in the beginning of the loop. So you say continue constant, and now this is the important. You say false. False. Now what will happen? When the number is 4, it will go here and it will make the property to false, and after that it will go back here, and since it's a do while loop, now this will be false, it will stop the loop. And I told you already, it's a do while loop. If I set false here in the beginning itself, if I set false, so what do you think? Loop will not run. Loop will run actually. Loop will run only once, because it's a do while. Because in do while you execute the loop and you write the condition at the bottom. It's like that. So even if I set it to false, it will run at least once. Okay, so that's all about looping thing. Looping conditions. We stop this. Assume the number is not 4. What to do? There is no connection, right? So we need to make that as well. So what we need to do, we need to connect to this AND block. Now click on this. So now it's aligned. You can say this is my default route, so there is no condition needed, and this is the one. You can rename. You say no, number is not 4, and this one you say I'm not able to click. Let me make it big. Now you say it's saying condition equal to 4, so that means yes. And when you click on this route, you can see both the condition together. So what we are trying to say, if route equal to 4, yeah, go to route number or branch name, yes. If it's nothing or anything else, go to no. Okay, so that's how we will stop the loop. Alright, I hope I did everything. Let's save it. We'll get to know if there is error. And I was talking about the configuration. Let me save as a version so that you will get to know what I'm talking about. When you save, then only you get this configure button, and this is the place where you can configure. Since I don't have any proper, I will come to that. Okay, so maybe once I'll create, I will show you what I'm talking about. Okay, so let's deploy. Click on empty space, and that's how you get this panel. Okay, so you can see it's deployed. Let's go back to the Postman. I'm saying root should go to loop. Okay, so let's send this. Okay, so it's working. This is the ID 4. I'll show you why we got 4. I go back here. Let me enable this. Okay, so you see, now let's see how many times this block executed. Let me click again. It's, I told you, right, if it's more than 9, it takes time. So it loop executed 1 2 3 4 5 times. So the fifth one is the number 4. You can see what we got this time. ID is 2. What random number is? Again 2. Here let's see what is the random number. 5. here what is the random number? 8. So in the last fifth iteration, 0 1 2 3 4, yeah, fifth iteration we got number 4. That is why you can see body. Click on body. For some reason I'm not able to click that. So this is the place where when you need to click on this, the actual debugging mode. So when the data is too much on a particular block, it doesn't behave correctly, but that's okay. But the plugin is very useful. Okay, so let me go back here. So we want to know what is the last message. Obviously it is 4, that is why loop will stop, and you can see it is 4. Okay, so what I am doing, I'm having this APIs. Maybe I'll show you the URL. Maybe I'll copy from here. So I will remove this. I will say 4. So it's just giving me dummy data, some name, and created ad or what stuff like that. Okay, and it is having those numbers. So the number 4 you can see, and there's the username, and pretty much same user we are getting in our Postman. You see, yeah. Okay, why we got only one user, not all? I'll tell you. So what is happening here? So loop is running. So loop is running one at a time. So you got one message, we gave it to the end. We got another message, we gave it to end. Whatever is the last message, you are able to see in the end, because all are already there. So if you go back to the here, this end, click on it, it doesn't have anything. But if you click on this end, which is the loop end, this one, you see it is having only one, because loop is running whatever it, only it will show the last message. If you want to capture all the messages, I mean all the looped messages, then you have to use something else, which I will cover later part of the video. All right. Okay, so this is a simple example of loop. I will make it more complex, don't worry. So to cover all the scenarios. Okay, let's see what is next in the I think we came to exception now. Okay, so let me give you a little bit hint. Let's say I go back here and I change this line number. Let me enable this one. Sorry, this is 9. Okay, I'll change this to, let's say, 2. Now what will happen when the loop is running? This time when you executed 5 times, right? So there is a high probability it loop will go into error condition, because I'm throwing exception if it's going beyond that particular number. In my case, that particular number is 2, if you see here. Okay, let's save it and deploy. Minimize this and go to Postman, execute. See, we got an error. Now if I go back here, see, it's showing in the plugin itself, it's showing here itself what is the error. You click on inline and there is no way we can catch the error because we didn't add it. But so what we can do, we can go back to normal trace mode, let it load. Is it printing the message? No, it's not printing. We have to see actually here what is the error. So we got an error at this level here in the loop. It's not showing in inline, but you have to go here cloud and click on this. Wherever you have a red message, no, that block you have to click and then log contain. So if you read this, loop counter reached max number of iterations, and that is what I want to show. So if the number goes on, we are saying through exception. Same thing we have said here. Let me uncheck this one. See, through exception. Okay, so now let me introduce how you can handle those. So this is the scenario. What you want to do? We didn't get any control itself. Exception is there, it stopped the loop and it stopped the iFlow also, right? but in the real scenario you want to log this somewhere, right? So that is where, just like in normal programming languages, you have something called try and a catch, right? So, and the catch, you write the actual logic, what is supposed to happen in case of an error. So in case of CPI, you have something called exception subprocess. So in each block, you can have this. Okay, so since our exception is in looping process, that is why I'm dragging that here. Okay, so whenever there is an error, it will drop here. I mean drop the controller here, and then that is where you get opportunity to do something or act on that particular error. Okay, what you can do, that we have so many blocks, an error can be like, we can get error, so we'll be handling multiple times, right? So what we can do, just like in any normal programming language, we have something called global exception handler, right? So wherever your error is, you have one handler which listens to those errors, and from there you can log it. So in nutshell, what I will try to say, for example, if we have like how many blocks we have, 1 2 3 4 5, so no need to write code 5 times, like log from here, log from here. What you can do, you can, this here also you can do in similar way. The only catch is catch should be there in each block, just like this exception block sub process should be there in each block, and from there you can create a process like a separate method, and that method you can call from each block. So what I'm trying to say is nothing but same. So you might have seen in this video I've used so many process block. So that is where you will be, I mean, you will get to know how useful it is. So what I'll do, so similarly like here, what I'm trying to say, if there is an exception in the loop block, go to this block. Similarly, I'll copy paste and put it here. In this, while processing that particular loop or iteration, if there is error, go to similar blocks. No need to write same code again and again. You can reuse them, right? So maybe what I'm trying to say here also, let me explain this one. Let me, if I clean right away, it will remove exception block. I'll drag it in the center. Let me clean this now, and let me see, I can rename this one to, I'll say handle exception. Okay, just the name. Same what I can do here, I can this, since I showed you copy paste, right? Copy paste, and let me show you how you can drag it here. It should be on the line actually. Let me zoom a little bit. Okay, did it. And maybe I'll show you one more thing. So now you try to align this one using this. It doesn't do for the inside components, it always do for the main component, since it's a local subprocess and this is like a subprocess within a subprocess, something like that. So it doesn't do that, you have to do manually. So maybe I can do it for now like this. Okay, so both are empty. So what I need to do, create a new exception handler. Maybe I'll drag it somewhere here, or this name I can give something like handle or exception handler, something like that I can say. So, handler. Okay, and since I showed you this is one process where actually I will be doing any kind of logging, or whenever there is something has to be done, I will do that stuff here, and from all the places I will call this particular block. So since just for this example I created that block here and I'm using the same, I didn't assign it, I'll assign it. So you see right now for this particular block I'm having a process call. In that I will select that exception handler. Similarly, I added a catch block, like like exception subprocess in CPI items. Added a process call. This just name doesn't really matter. Call the same exception handler. Like that we will be doing from all the blocks actually. Okay, now what I want to say is, like, whenever there is an error, it will come here. So there is a way you can read those errors. Those are errors are will be is in headers or properties. Okay, but so what we can do, we can have a script over here which can read the message. I would say you can format those messages, error messages, and then you can use them the way you want to use it. So for example, let me drag a Groovy script here. What this script will do, it will read the error from those properties. I will show those properties also. Let's click on this plus button so that it will create that script. Copy, paste. I have the script ready for you. What it's doing, it's reading it is attaching those errors to the CPI displays. Maybe I'll go back here. I'll show you this exception came now. So whenever there is exception, right, you can see those errors here in the logs. Right now we don't have anything. We can attach if we want to. So for that, what we need to do, if you want to attach some errors here for the failed messages, what you can do, you can use these properties. Message log, you can like this, and then whatever name you want to give it, and then particular, and then it's reading from this exception blocks, these properties and setting. Okay, so let's not get into this script. Okay, so basically it's just what it's doing, it's just reading from the property, that's why. And we want to show those messages over here. In real scenario, what actually you will be doing, you will be calling an API, and there you will be logging, or depending on your actual scenario, you will be doing that. Okay, so maybe I can add a content modifier here to show you the error which I showed you over here in this window, trace window. So that we will want to see it here. Okay, let's save this. One thing I missed, maybe other way to say empty node. Let me add something same which I did earlier. $in body, save and deploy. So this time it's showing in red color because we didn't handle that particular exception. Okay. But this time we handled it. We added an exception sub-process, that is nothing but catch. It's deployed. Let's go back to the Postman. Hit it. You see, you didn't get the exception. You got 200 and you got, this is the error actually. And that error message is coming from that script which we have created, and that we are reading from a property which is nothing but these properties. If I go back inside trace mode, and as I showed you in the properties, right, and that we are reading in the script and printing it to the content block, and that is why same, since it's connected to end block, and that is why we are able to see that particular error in the Postman as a response body. And the error is loop counter reach max number of iteration. Okay, so this is how you catch any particular exceptions. All right, let's go to next example. Next example is, like, let's say this exception is a normal exception, right? There is a possibility, exception inside a loop. What if there is an exception inside let's say GeneralSplitter, or you can say Iterating Splitter. I mean to say in any sub process. I edit in HTTP also. I will show you there as well. Maybe let me cover all cases. So let's say I want to generate some exception over here, and how we will handle it. So since we will make use of the same exception block sub process, I mean to say, let me drag that here, clean it, process call, and you have seen in the beginning of the video we were iterating to the XML node, nothing but this node, like 1 2 3 stuff like that. Okay, so what we can do, we can create a script and say if the mobile digit number in the digit is less than or not equal to 10, throw exception because it's not a valid data, right? So what we can do, we can add a script here in the between. Okay, let's add that. We can use Groovy Script. Okay, and in that script we can add that particular logic. That logic you can again use ChatGPT, like this is my node and I want that kind of script which can throw exception. Okay, so I think I click on plus button. I'll replace the script. What I'm doing, it will read the message body, nothing but your particular row, nothing but this row, because that is what we are returning from the iteration. I believe I will check that, and then from each iteration it will check what is the length of the mobile number. If it's not equal to 10, then return this error. Let's apply and close, and let's see what is the iteration. Make sure it's 1, otherwise we have to change the condition of the change the logic of the script. Right now it will work with the single node at a time. Let's save it. The fun part is right now we don't have that data, it's all our 10 digit, so it should not throw exception. Let's test that part, and it's showing red because we created a process block but we didn't assign this exception handler. So click on it. Now you see when I click on save button, it's gone. Let me deploy this. Wait for the deployment. Looks like it's deployed. Okay, so let me go back to the Postman again. Iteration action, but I didn't create it. Let me show you first general one. IteratingSplitter, the one which I have showed you already. This time it should not show any exception. See, it's printing the message. There is no exception because our data, this data is proper. All are 10 digit. So what we need to do, we'll make use of the new route node, and that is where we will add a node which will have the faulty, which will have a wrong mobile number. Alright, so uncheck this one, maybe let's say iterating exception. Okay, so let's minimize this one and I'll create a new node, and that is where we will add that particular faulty node. So let's add that new node here. So what we need to do, similarly the way we did it for other things, what we will add a process call. So we will call this time same process actually. So PROC process call. Let's end message. Okay, and then let's add a script so that which can help us adding the faulty node. And this should be connected to this one. Let's give this a name on XML, and I will say iteration exception, and that's the name which we are having here also. Now let's clean this. So you see we have a node, script, and then process call. Let's call the same process from here, which we already have, iterating split. That is where I think we have written the validation script here, which will throw exception. Okay, let's go back to this one. Click on plus button. Using the script, we will add the faulty node. Alright, so what I'm trying to say, read the exception, read the particular message body which is having all the nodes. In that, add a fake name, fake branch, something like that. So, and you see mobile number, since we are checking right now just the length, so that don't worry about that, it's a string or number, don't get into that one. Understand the concept. Alright, so what we are doing here, it will say length is not equal to 10, it will try to throw exception. Close this one, save and deploy. Okay, deploy. Let's go back to the Postman. Let's execute this. Okay, so it's printing because we handled the exception, and you can see this is here. Fake node is also added to the block. But the fun part is if you trace it. Okay, what happened? Maybe I didn't. No data. Maybe let me save as version. Okay, my session expired for some reason. Let me refresh it. Hopefully we didn't lose any data. I saved it actually. Yes. Okay, so everything is right there. Let me check whether the script is there or not. Okay, so everything is there. Let's save it as a version so that we don't lose anything. Save. Let me deploy one more time. It's actually deployed, but just for the sake of I am deploying it. Okay, it's deployed. Execute. Okay, the node is still there. Minimize it. Enable inline. Okay, so it's showing this time, and it's showing red color because there was an exception on this one. See, whenever there is exception, it's going to the catch block, nothing but exception sub process in CPI items. And if I double click over here, you should see the same error which we are throwing from the script. Normally takes time. Let's double click again. Okay, anyway, it's taking time, so let's use the normal window, but it's still. Okay, so let's read the message from here. What is the message? Reload. And you see, this is what we are throwing. Invalid mobile number, length of mobile number should be 10 digit, line number 3 from the script. Alright, so that's how you catch this exception from a normal block or a loop block. Alright, now maybe I'll show you how you can handle exception in the HTTP scenario also. Let's see what is the next. Maybe yeah, let's take the example of this one. Okay, I have already shown you how you call an API. Maybe I want to show you one more new thing. I mean, in HTTP, there is one possible thing where exception can come. So for that, let me create a new node. Which is nothing but which will make actually nothing but a simple HTTP call. Okay, so for that, what we can do, we can just go back here and add a new route, and let me add a process call. Okay, I didn't click on edit. So here's the process call, and we need. And I just want to show that so there is a catch in CPI. If you want to call any particular API, and what if you are passing some parameter in the URL itself, and those parameters, let's say, contain some kind of a special char. So normally if you call the API from a Postman containing those special char in the URL, it actually takes care of those URLs. So for example, if it has space, it encodes them. But in case of CPI, there is one special condition. Okay, so that is what I'm trying to cover over here. So let's add a content modifier. So that is where we will create a that kind of content. So what I'll do, I'll have a content modifier here and a process block, and we need one more thing called end message. So you observed I am always adding in a random fashion and then I'm formatting it, but make sure you connect in the right fashion. So that route should connect to content modifier, then content modifier arrow should connect to process block, and then process block should contain into end. Since I don't have a space, that is why I'm doing it this way, so that it can do the job automatically. Now see it formatted. Okay, so now in this route I will add that condition here so that it will go to that particular route is HTTP, not HTTP request, I believe. Yeah, HTTP request, yes. Okay, so that first I will show you the issue, then we will see what how to fix that. All right, so what I can do in this, I will add a URL. So for that, what I need to do, I need to go to this content modifier and exchange property, add new as a constant, and say API URL, and I would say user. First I will show you the happy path. So I'm just typing anything so that make sure it works everything. So you will get to know how to call an API. Though I showed in the Postman, sorry, I'm into the loop. Pretty much same thing I'm covering here, but just okay. So let's do this. Add a block here. So with that we will be attaching to this one. So let me add a local sub process. You can give this name HttpRequest. Sorry, request process. Alright, so now what actually we will be doing here, we will be adding a request reply as I have already shown you in the process. I'm a looping process, I would say. And one more thing I want to cover here is, for example, there is a possibility if you are calling an API and that API is of certain type, I mean to say like that required certain kind of content type or any kind of, let's say, since I am using APIs without authentication, assume you are using APIs which require some let's say bureau token or a specific kind of content type or any kind of headers, how you will set it, right? So the only way is to set here is to add a content modifier just before the request reply, I mean to say. So just for the sake of this example, I'm just adding a dummy content modifier, and we will say, let's say I will add a property here. So you make sure you add in the message header. That is what is very important. And then you can give the header name, the actual, it can be authorization or content type or whatever is the realist header and your API header name. Okay, so in my case I'm just simply saying content type, and just for the simplicity I'll say I'm requesting application/JSON kind of data. All right, and then I will add a request reply, and I'll need a receiver as I already told you. If you are calling multiple APIs from a same kind of server which requires something, then you can use same receiver for multiple APIs. HTTP in that HTTP line, actually you will be writing that condition. So I'll say this is the where API URL which I created just before this block process call. This is a get API. It doesn't have any kind of authentication, so I'll set it none. And this is the very important part here. So whatever content that I said, you will be creating a header if you need it just before this request line. So make sure you put a star. As you can see, I think it will show star for everything or the specifics. For example, just for this example, I created a content type of header, so I'll type here this one. If you have one more, you simply say pipe and put something. All right, so this is the happy flow first I am trying to show you. Save, deploy. I think I forgot to connect this node here. Yeah, I created a process block, but I didn't attach it. So let me go back. I will attach the HttpRequest process. Save. Let it deploy. Okay, looks like it's deployed. Now, forget. This is the happy one. So you can see I am getting all the user data here from my PKPI, which I created. Okay, so because I am passing whatever, so if you want to see the actual URL, is this after slash I am typing user, and if you go back to this node and copy this URL, it's over here. Let me copy everything, copy, and let me paste here and simply say user. So it's printing, see, Nick. Let me close this one, minimize. I believe you will see the same. See? All right. So there is no error. Now let's create some kind of errors. So for example, I will say, as I already told you, what if your URL instead of user you have something which is having special chars? Then how will you handle that kind of scenario? Normally it will encode automatically, but in case of CPI you have to do certain extra things. Okay, so let me tell you how you will going to achieve that. First, let me show you let's see what kind of data I'm trying to say. For example, your URL contains something like maybe let's go back here and open the same URL, and instead of users, if I type chunk, it says not found because the user is not existing. So that means there is no error. It's just a 4 over 4. There is no error means there is no error in calling the API. 404 is not an error. It's saying, I mean, it's HTTP error, HTTP code. It's saying there is no data available on the server. That is why you are getting 404. There is no error. Let's say your data, and instead of I said like 1 second, I said some chunk characters, and so let's say now I am seeing some string with a special char like a bracket. So I am opening and closing bracket. If I hit enter now, see, it's still saying not found. It automatically, the browser automatically converted space and and already encoded space and brackets. There is no issue when we are transferring, calling the API from a Postman or a browser. There is no issue. It's not. There is no issue in calling the API actually, right? So let's try to mimic the same scenario in CPI. So there is a special catch I mean to say. So you need to handle separately these brackets. Otherwise you won't be able to make the API call. So since I didn't do anything in the browser, right, I simply added like a normal string, hit enter, it didn't do anything. Let me go back here. What I'll do, let me change the URL. Let me go back here and not this one, sorry, the actual where we are keeping the URL. So in my case it is here. Instead of user I will say the same string. You see some string with a special char like bracket. Now let's save this and save and deploy. And it's called the Postman. You see we got an error. Let's check what is that, and we didn't add any catch block. That is why we are getting this not understandable kind of error. Let's add the catch block also so that we will understand what is the error. If I put inline, you see it's directly showing it's not going to the exception block handler because we didn't attach it. So let's attach that. Okay, process call, and in this we want to call the handler. Here save and deploy so that we can see the error. Normally you can see in the trace, I just don't want to show that so that we understand when to use, how to use this exception blocks. Alright, so let's wait for the deployment. Okay, it's deployed. Go back to the Postman, hit it again. Okay, so now this is the actual error we are getting from CPI. It's saying illegal character in path at index 52, which is nothing but this special char. So it actually did the same. So it converted automatically space into, it already encoded this space, but it didn't do for the bracket, because the bracket is a special char, okay, which is not allowed in the URLs. So what we need to do, we need to encode them. Even though if you encode once, it doesn't work it. So there is a catch. If you are setting the variables, okay, and so what we need to in CPI, you need to double time encode only special chars, not the space. If it's a space there, you encode only once. So, and for other special chars like brackets or stuff like that, you have to encode twice. Okay, so what I'm trying to say, I will tell you. So how to fix that? You are having a variable, you add a script, Groovy, because that is the where we get now option to play with the URL. Let's format so that you can see it cleanly. Script, and sorry, let me click on this plus button so that we get yeah, this is the block, placed it. So what actually we are doing here, let's delete this content, we don't need this now. Okay, what is this? Okay, yeah, same thing. So what I'm saying, whatever is the URL from my variable, read that, convert a space with a single encode, one time encode. It already did it since we are playing with the URL, that is why we are doing manually. So space should be encoded once, and this bracket should be encoded twice. If there is a website, you can you can play with those. Maybe I'll show you that also. Encode, decode, something is there. Maybe we can check that later. Yeah, so if you decode twice, then you will get this bracket. If you decode this one twice, you get this kind of bracket. Okay, now after that I am setting into property the same one. Let's apply it. I'm creating one more property, as you can see already, so that if you want to debug it, you can see what was the original, what is encoded what. Apply, and what there was a problem in the script. Let's see what is the problem. Okay, there were no more import statements that are not. Yeah, that's fine, don't care. Close it. Now let's save and deploy. I was clicking on block, that's why I was not getting it. Make sure you click on empty space, not on the blade empty space of a block. So it's deploying. Let's wait for it. It's a trial account, that's why it takes a lot of time. Not sure I clicked on deploy or not. Let me click it again. Okay, you can see it's deployed now. Let's go back to the Postman. I'm not using other points since I did everything in this one. So earlier we were getting this. Actually, we were not able to call the API itself. Now we added a script which is encoding the bracket also. Let's see what will happen now. Now see, it's saying 404, no record found. So this time it's able to make the API call, and there is no error. The same error we were getting in the browser also, right? So this time we are able to call the API, and you see after this it's encoded bracket twice, and then space is encoded once, and we are getting 404, and same we were getting from the browser as well, if you see here. So we are able to able to call the API from CPI. So this is how you handle special chars, okay, using the script. All right, and if you want to see message, I believe it should show, yeah, so 404 you are getting and no record. So if I want to click on trace mode, the 404 you will get it here. I think you can click here also, but not sure whether it will allow. It's not clicking the link. Yeah, so 404 here, message body. This is the input. I mean, yeah, here you see the same thing. HTTP failed invoking. You are getting 404 status code. All right. So that's pretty much about the HTTP call. Let's see what is the next. So this is covered. How to fix also covered. This is done. Now let's see the properties. Like how many types of properties are there and how to transfer data between. Though you have already seen header and the properties, right? So just want to and I want to show the configure button properties also, right? So that we will cover now. So let me create just like how I created the process blocks, right? Similarly I will create those blocks again. So maybe I will create a set property content modifier, and that is where we will set it, and you will able to see how we are using those properties back in from one process block to another process block. Alright, so let me add a content modifier. That is where we will set the properties. So I'll click here. So you got it. Let me minimize this one. Add a process block. Sorry. Yeah, this is another feature. Maybe I'll show you this one. Let's say you want to do something or you are finding. Let you click on content modifier. We have so many content now. So yeah, so plus button is to add. This is to find. So it's saying I have 10 content modifiers. I can iterate to each one by one like this. So it's a good feature. All right, we close this one. By mistake clicked on it. So good. Now I need a process block. So click on plus button. I'll connect it. I need end message. So content should connect to this one. This should be connected to this one, and we need to set the route also, right? So for that, let's connect this route to content modifier, and let's add that condition non-XML, and I'm saying when the route is having properties types, and that is where it should go here. All right, let me create a local integration process also for this. Maybe I'll just drag it here, and somewhere I should shift it. Maybe I'll shift it here. Let's give this some name. I think I'll just say properties type process. Okay, and let's bind this to this one, otherwise you'll get an error. So properties type, so binding is done. Okay, so let me create some properties in the content modifier. Header, I already showed you how you will create header. Let me even properties also I have shown you like constant one. Let's create some let's say some configured properties, some kind of configured properties, or let's say I can say some kind of constant value or something which you want to take it from the user. So they say give a name like say p constant value or something like that, and that is where you want to make it configurable. So you need to say double time curly braces, give some name, let's say configured value, hit enter. So now if you double click on this one, you can set some default value. So let's say I type I would say d value, so that you know it's not actually this default or a defined value. I mean d value, I'll say. So this is what it's showing over here. Okay, and similarly we are having some input also, right? Input means this input we are coming, right? Whatever the body from the JSON we are converting to XML, and that stuff I am talking about. Let me format it a little bit again so that it will be clean to, so that it will be easy to understand. So this JSON or XML, there's a way we can put assign to a variable. So how you can, I already told you, right? In dot body. So whenever you want to access incoming message, you use incoming message using this one. But the only catch is it should be of expression type. So maybe we can give a same name like expression value. Alright, but the only catch is this data type is important. So there are multiple types of data types like string, number, integer, or object. So since I'm just giving it's an object, so because it's not a string means which comes into single double quote. Integer means like 1 2 3 4 stuff like that. So it's a complete object. So that's why java.lang.object. All right. Another thing is like you already seen this XML looks like this. Let's say you want to extract all the nodes of row. So how you do? Using, you can create a property but using XPath. Okay, so maybe I will give a name like property from by XPath, and then as I already showed, row you want to extract, you simply say slash root row. So it will remove root, sorry, access all the nodes of primary from the row. All right, just like that. Let's say you already know we are setting these headers in this one. So root dot root name. So one way is to, you can say header dot and this name. That's how we are doing in the routes. If you see over here, you see header dot route name and whatever it is, right? Another way is to, you can access them using this property, like there's a call header, and that is where you can just give the name itself. Maybe this is a variable name to access. What is the actual header name? Actual header name is route name, right? And since this is also empty, so whenever it's empty, you make sure you put that like if it's a string type number integer, number, then put integer, otherwise object. All right, so these are the values which I am setting. This I configured with the default body configure. I'll show you. So I will show you twice. So let's minimize this one. Process call is, I believe, already connected. What I could do is, let's print those. So you see, main process I am connecting the, in the main process I am setting everything, but I am accessing in a another sub process, I would say. So let's try content modifier here. Earlier we were writing content in dot body just to keep so that it won't look empty, but in this time we have all the properties. So let's say header access. So I created a property called header route name. This is the way which we are using in the route. And I created a new property and made it type of header and assigned the value, as you can see in the previous block. Similarly, I created a constant block which is nothing but, I would say, configure default slash configure. Okay, so this time it will show the default one, which I have set d value xpath. So like root slash row, that value it will be. Expression means whatever is the entire message that will be printed over here. Let's save this. Let's save as a version also so that we don't lose anything. Deploy. It's deployed. Let's go back here. Postman properties type, hit. You see header is properties type, same I'm passing. This I accessed using the property, as I already showed you. Not this is just the printing part. Actually thing is happening here. I believe this is the one. So you see route name p property hold header value. So that is what I'm printing over here. Then constant, I added a d value. See, it's a d value. This is a default one. If you see, if I mouse over, it's a default value. And this is the x path. You see, root is not there, only rows are there, because I said root slash row, and that is what it's printing over here. So I am interested in row. That's how you extract data from particular node. Another thing I am saying in dot body, so it's printing everything, whatever is the input. Okay, now let me show you d to convert to configure. Let me click, I saved as a version, so let me click on configure, and that is where I get an option as this window, and I see configured value. That is the name I have given to that variable while writing curly braces, if you observe. Now I can change to configured value, something like that. I will type some extra so that save, close, deploy. Let's see, let's wait for the deployment. It's deployed. Let's hit again. Check this. See, it's changed. Oh, my bad. I click on the link actually. You see, it's showing the configured value. So that's how you access the properties. All right. Now, maybe I'll show you some tools also. One tool I've already told you, like these two also I'll cover in just a bit, like CPI Helper. Now I have used, you have seen I have used so many scripts, right? In that case, what you can do, you can make use of this kind of tool like Groovy ID. So directly you can, when you are using the script or taking the script from ChatGPT, you can try over here. So this is the input message. So whatever message you are giving to the script, that you write here as input, this is the actual SAP, CPI kind of script you will be writing over here. If you have some header, in the script, if you are accessing something like a header, you create those header here properties like this, you create here. Whatever is the message output, nothing but this body, you will get it on this output window. And if you're transforming any header and property, creating and modifying, so you will see these properties here. If there is an error, you will see below like that. So it's a good tool, you can make use of it. Another tool is like the mock API, which I was talking about now. So I use this tool, mock API. Using that you can create an API. So this is the one I was using. If you click on it, this is the default URL. So using that you can get to know all the data. Similarly, script I was talking about, right? So for the script I was using this tool. So what you can do here, this is the input XML. Below you need to type your XSLT. The script means not the Groovy script. I was talking about. So this script means I was talking about. Maybe I'll show you in one of the example, but I'm just telling you now. So whatever is your input XML, let's say you want to convert in a different format, so you can use the XSLT and you will transfer your output into different format. I think in these one of the example I will cover that also. So this is the tool, good tool to test your scripts. And Groovy Script, whether it's a Groovy Script or your XSLT script, you can create those script using ChatGPT. It's very easy. That's how we should use those tools, whichever is available. All right. Okay, let me jump to that one. Next block is the, I believe, let's see, what is that? Yeah, gather. Let's cover that also. Similarly, like other block, I will create a content modifier and the process block to connect to that gather. Okay, we don't need this. Only this. This also don't need. Okay. Let me add a process block. Okay, I need to click on edit. Okay, process. And I need end message. Let's type the condition also, non-XML. It's a gather block. Okay, let's clean this. All right. Yeah. Best practice is to give a meaningful name. I'm just giving just for the sake of demo. Now let me create another block, local integration block. Give this the same name. And bind this one. I think I didn't save it or what. Surprisingly, it's not coming for some reason. Maybe let me save as a version, then I'll refresh. Okay, I think I created a wrong block. That's the catch. Let me delete this one. I should select this one. I selected integration version. That's why it was not showing. Let me change this and set it to gather. Okay, and connect this one to that node. Now it's coming. All right. So in the gather means let's say I showed you right when I was looping or doing the iteration, it was processing one node and then going to the second one, and you are getting result only the end result. I would say, like say in the looping, right? You might have asked that you were able to see only the user 4, not all the user which were iterated before, right? So that is where gather comes into the picture. Gather means it will hold and collect all the data whatever is in that particular process, and then it will consolidate and give it to you. So that is the work of gather. Okay, so just to mimic that scenario, I will use again iteration. So let's use that. I will use iterating splitter, and let's say I want to create a batch. I have 6 rows. If you see in my payload, these are 6 rows. Let's say I want to create a batch of 2 and group them, and I want the entire payload in one shot. So what I could do, so here I will say XPath, seems root/row, and then group by 2, so that I get to this. I'm not throwing exception, so it's of no use now. And whenever you iterate, right, it will always have a XML declaration. So if you want to modify something, let's remove those, right? So maybe I can use XML modifier. I will show you what I'm talking about. So in this, you might have observed in the XML, right, this one. So it will split, but when you create a you want to process these nodes individually, this will also come into the picture, and that is where it will create a problem. So we want to remove that, so then only we will be able to create batches. I'll tell you what I'm talking about. So in the XML declaration, what I'm saying, remove this declaration. Okay, and then I will say create batches. So for that I will creating manually, so I'll use content modifier. So since I said I will be getting a group of 2 nodes, and that 2 nodes will be set inside these batches, single batches. Okay, and then after that you can do whatever you want, like that. Okay, and then I will use a gather. So the gather, what it will do, it will wait and collect all the data, all the iterated data. Since all the rows are of same type, so I will say same and then combine them. In the end we will get the output. Let's save and deploy, and I will tell you why I added this block. Okay, it's deployed. Yeah, gather. Okay, let's copy this. So see, we created batch of so three batches because we were having three rows. If I open one of the row, you see two rows are there. So now I added the XML declaration since I manually created these batches, right? Because I'm having a batch node, starting node, and the closing node. In between the batches will come. So what will happen when you split? The data is coming like this, but this is not a valid XML because you are having declaration at each separate level. This is not a valid, it's wrong, right? So that is why what I did, when I'm getting this data, I removed this declaration using that block. Then I added those whatever is there iterated, that is two block. I'm binding setting between the batch block. That's how. And then second iteration, and the entire thing is inside this gather is added this declaration. You can format them, use it. I will show that. Okay, so that is all about gathering. Now when to use join and gather. So this is like let's say single thing. What happened sometime you want to do some kind of like let's say you want to call two APIs. In one API you want to perform something, in second API you are doing something else, and then you want to merge both together. That is where you will use join. So what will happen, and then let's say join, and then you can use gather, because join and then you have to gather entire data that will give you. And if you want to use, let's say, along with iteration, so then you need to use one more gather because you are already having. So in between, if you are multicasting, the parallel multicast or sequential multicast, I will show you right now. So maybe we can create one more example for that, like join and gather. Let's create that process block. This is becoming very big and it's okay. Process call, and then let's connect this also to a route. I think we need end message as well. Yes, we should connect with the route. Let's clean it. Okay, let me add another process block. Let me drag it here. Let's connect that block first. Or maybe we can use a similar example where I will be iterating. So let's take example of iterating splitter. Okay, and then since I added XML modifier again, let me add that. sometimes it doesn't pick the node. It's deleted by mistake. Okay, so in the XML I think this time I can iterate by one. Same route. We don't want this declaration. Now the important part is the multicast. Let's see what type of multicast we have. Multicast. Okay, so we have two types of multicast: parallel multicast and sequential multicast. The only difference between these two is sequential means, let's say whatever branches you want. Let's say you have 4 branches connected to the node. Let me drag this one for now, just like a route. So whatever branches I will be connecting, in case of sequential multicast, whatever the order we will mention, it will connect to, iterate or process those branches. Let's say 1 2 3, like that it will process. Maybe I'll show that one first. Sequential multicast, I'll drag it here. Let me just for content modifier, just for testing purpose I will add multiple times. So you see I added 2 content modifiers, sorry 3 content modifiers. Let me connect these 3. Now what you can do, you click on this node and go to sequence. So here you click on this one, you can say I want 1 to be iterated only after 3. So I drag it here. 4 should be iterated first. You can rename them just to make you understand what this way I'm doing. So now the sequence is 4 will be executed first, then 2, then 3 and 1. Like that it will be executing. But in case of parallel, whatever branch you have, all the branches simultaneously process together, and then you have to connect to join. So it will join all the data together, and to hold that you should use a gather. So that's the pattern: join and a gather, like that. And since we are having loops, that means we need another gather just to have all the gathered data, like that. All right, so let me remove these. We don't need this much data. We just need to, maybe I will take an example of parallel one. Both are pretty much same, just the order. In case of sequence it's order, in case of parallel both gets executed together. Okay, so let me delete this also. I'll use parallel. Multicast. So this also, whenever you do a parallel multicast, you know what happened? This also had a XML declaration for some reason. All right, so we have to remove that also, and let me add a join. So whatever is the output of all the branches should be joined to this one, and then we need a gather, so that whatever is the joined data should be gathered. Now let me format this so that it will be readable. So this join and gather, this gather is for join, and now we are having loop also. So if you want all data to be together, we need one other gather, just like that is why I have shown this example first. So this gather is for the iteration, because we are in a loop. It will iterate all together and collect all the data, otherwise you will get one at a time. Okay, so this gather is for the joins. Whatever you are joining multiple branches, that data will be grouped together into gather. All right, so let's add one more gather. Let me clean this so that it will be readable. Okay, so now let me tell you one thing. Join. Okay, so now whatever branches we are trying to create from parallel multicast or a sequential multicast, the catch is whatever is the input, the same input will be given to all the branches irrespective of type of multicast, whether it's a parallel multicast or a sequential multicast. Same data, that means whenever you are iterating, so in my case I'm iterating one row at a time, so that particular iterated row will be transferred to these blocks, these branches. Same data will be transferred. So okay, so for example, if I create one more content modifier just to explain you, so content modifier, let me drop it here, and this one let's connect here, and let's directly connect this to this one. Okay, so I formatted. Now you can see it's not allowing drag. Okay, so whatever row is getting iterated, it will transfer to this branch 1 as well as to this branch 2 also. So, and what we want, let's say, and you have seen our data, right? In each branch, this is the actual data, we have ID number, and we have a fake API where we can pass the ID number and get the actual username and stuff like that. Okay, so half data is here, half data is over API. So what we can do, we want to merge together. So in that we don't have a mobile number, but in that API response we have a person number, person name, right? So merge this data with that data. So what we can do, in the branch 1 we will get the row information, that is nothing but mobile number and the ID, and here we can call API to get the user data, and we will merge together using join. This will gather all the user data, that particular row data for all, and then iterating this gather will have data of all the users together. In our case it's a 6 users. All right, so let's copy request reply here, and we need a receiver for this. Let's connect here. I already told you if it's from the same API you can use same receiver. Just to make it simple, I am using multiple receivers, but that's not a good practice. You will have single receiver so that you can configure the endpoints much better way. Okay, so let me connection, and this is the place I am saying p row ID. This is the property I will be creating in the content modifier which I added just now. Let it make it get. It's a plain API, so no need authentication. Let me format this. Okay, so in the content modifier what I can do, I can create that property, and I already told you how to extract the data from XML. So what I can do, you can using XPath, right? So I'll give this a name, and here I will say XPath, and in the XPath you already know my data is root row. Root is already iterated, since iterated, so root it will be removing automatically. Then we need to iterate from, and we extract from row/id. So that is going to be set to this variable, and that we are accessing in the this HTTP URL. Alright, and I told you parallel multicast is also going to add XML declaration, since we are going to merge. So merge, when you merge a node inside a node, there we don't need a XML declaration. So with this branch 1 is going to add that, so we should remove that also, right? So maybe we can make use of this one. And we can, yeah, it's already there now, so we can do a copy and paste. Yeah, let me format it. Okay, so like that we can do it. And one more catch here, since this is raw information, this is response information, other way around, the above one is a response, below one is a row, which is the actual data from our Postman. Both format is different, so what we need to do, we need to come here, change the strategy. We need to say data is different type. Similarly here, different. Okay, I think here you can say same also, because it's everything is grouped, then it's going to be same, but the message 1 2 and like that, so it's better to keep it different. Okay, we can play with that variable, that's not a big deal. Okay, so now one more catch. In our API, our response is in JSON, but below is XML, above is JSON. We cannot merge, so let's convert that JSON into XML. So let's use JSON converter, JSON to XML. Let's bind it here. Okay, so in that also we need to make some changes. I think we don't need this one. I think let's add, yeah, we can say you can add a root, or we can say that is a row, no? So we can here also we can say, I would say row, so that it will be easy. All right, now this is done. We can remove this. When you convert any JSON into XML, it also adds actually XML declaration, so let's remove that as well. Maybe we can use copy and paste by to configure again. Okay, let's format it. Now we are good. Let's see whether it's working or not. Save and deploy. Failed. Okay, what is the issue here? Okay, so we didn't type the type of it. I told you, right, when you create an exchange property, make sure to type the data type. So in this case, what is the type? The id is going to be the integer, right? So earlier we were typing java.lang.object. In case of string, type string. This is integer, so that's why integer. All right, now let's save and deploy. Wait for the deployment. By the time we can check everything is there. Yeah, it's there. Let's see, it's deployed. Let's go back to Postman and hit. You see, we got entire, this is of XML, so let's click on it, copy and go to editor. Okay, so you see, let me, yes, we are having 6 users, you already know, and we are iterating one at a time. Let me collapse all together. So we have 6 messages. Let me accept. Each will have 2 messages, message 1 and message 2, because we have branch 1 and branch 2. And you have observed in one branch we are having the response of the user, as you can see, and the other one is the starting node. Okay, so still it's done to some extent. What we want to clean this. That is where the XSLT will come into the picture. I showed you just now, I mean just before this, right? So what we can do now to clean this, we can add a script XSLT after this. Okay, let me, and that is script, what you can do, like how to get the data. I mean, like you can give this JSON to ChatGPT and you can create manually, you can create row and like this manually merge and say ChatGPT, I want this kind of data, create XSLT for me, and ChatGPT will create a script for you. I mean, that's straightforward, no big deal. Okay, so what you can do, you can use that XSLT, and since I have already created it, I will show you. Copy and let me use this plus button to paste that. And I'll show you one more thing. I was talking about that XSLT tool, right? Let me get that link again. Close this. So here we will be passing the input. In this we will be pasting the XSLT. I think this is the one. Okay, and let me copy the, let me undo this so that I think it's clean now. Copy. So I told you, like in the beginning, put the input here. So this is our input. This is the XSLT. When you transform, you get the cleaned XML. Let me open it. See, everything is cleaned. So you have one row, you have user data, then the row data, stuff like that. So much good, right? Same script we have added here in our integration. So let's copy, and I already clicked on save, I think. And it will show JSON. You can use XML to JSON converter, that is better. So far we showed you like JSON to XML. Now I'll show you XML to JSON. Now let's format this, save it, deploy. It's deployed. Let's go back to the same example. see, it's converted. This you can trim also in the XML declaration. You can remove this node. That's not a big deal, but you got the data, see, in the JSON. That's pretty much about the join and gather. So that's how you got it, right? Why you need to gather one for join and then is for the iteration, since we are having the iterating splitter in between. So and for the cleaning part, or you want to do any sort of thing with respect to XML or transformation of XML, you can use XSLT. You want to put some logic, you can use Groovy Script. That's how we do it in CPI. Last two more things I'll cover. Maybe I'll show you one more thing here, where I created the properties. Let me find it. I think here I am creating those properties, right? So see, this is the property I created, the configure property. And now what if I remove it? I removed it and now it became the normal, like a static, like you can type something, sorry. And what you can do, you edit, but the property, if you save, I removed it, but I will just save as a version so that we get a configure button. It's saying no configure, right? But the catch is it should be there. If I click on empty space, this is the central place. You click on anywhere outside the block, that's where you get this panel. Click on externalized parameters and see, it is still there. It didn't delete. So what you need to do, click on edit, remove unused properties. Click on it. It will tell you, okay, this is the one which is unused. But this will work only for configured values. So I can remove it. Okay, what if like there are some properties in some random block you might have created? You just know the name, but you don't know where you have created. Then how will you check? There is no way to check, right? So the best way to check is you save this as a version, save it, go back to the root node, and download that, because everything is saved inside download. So maybe you can click on it and you say download. Yeah, it's downloaded. Open that folder. Okay, so let's extract it. It's extracted over here. You can see, let me open that in any editor, and I'm using VS Code. As I already told you, I know only the property name, so I can do Ctrl+Shift tab, and you remember some properties I created like p_constant. So you see, now at least I will get an idea where this property in which block it is lying. Somewhere so there is a content modifier with the name called content modifier 7. Now I can search with the content modifier in the application, I mean in the CPI, and I can manually remove that. So this is another trick. Alright, so that's pretty much about this video. I try to cover almost everything which is basically required to work on CPI. So I mean, like, basically I covered all the components which will be useful for your CPI development. Alright, thanks very much.